Call centre.
This is News Talk.
Oh, hello, listeners. Welcome along to Monday Nights Off the Ball. Excitement at fever pitch. We have a 2-hour special on Russell Knox's win at Wait, what?
Have you been hanging around Peter Alice up there in Donegal?
We don't.
You start off a show with,
In the very latest edition of It Can Only Happen in the GAA, I think all neutrals enjoyed a Connacht team winning the Leinster final in Munster yesterday. Galway people pretty happy as well. We'll look back with Daithi Regan and Tommy Dunne around 7:30. Football Talk 2, the Super 8's finally coming into sharp focus. David Brady and Enda McGinley with us tonight. And Dan McDonald checks in from Russia as semi-final fever takes hold. 53106 is the text number. We're on Twitter at Off The Ball. Richie, as you've heard, is here. Hello, Richie.
Hey, Joe.
And the chief sports writer with the Irish Daily Star, Kieran Cunningham, in studio. Hello, Kieran.
How are you?
What a week we're having here. So the sunshine continues. We had the Irish Open over the weekend. We have Wimbledon Manic Monday today. We have World Cup semi-finals and finals to look forward to. We have the Super 8s exploding in front of our eyes, and I think everyone's very excited about the weekend in prospect. We have Kilkenny against Limerick in the hurling. It's a fine time in Irish life, Kieran Cunningham, if you like sport. And nice weather.
Well, if you don't, you're a bit weird. Like, we don't really want to talk about those people who don't like sport. I don't think they listen to this show anyway, do they? So,
Lots of people do.
Really?
I meet plenty of people who say, don't like sport, like the show. So I don't know what that says, but there you go.
It's your dreamy good looks, Joe. It has to be.
That was the assumption I made in my head, but never sought to confirm.
But anyway, Donegal, I thought you would start. You're not calling everyone sir, which they tend to do up there.
No.
Say yes instead of hello. Stay while instead of very.
I'd miss some of the
Do you know
lingo.
what a clouster is? Did you learn what a clouster is?
No.
A gobshite.
Gobshite, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful part of the world it is up there.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It's always like that. The weather's always like that. Just tell everyone.
If I heard that once, I heard that 1 billion times over the week. That was the go-to joke everybody made in the small talk.
That's what they're trying desperately to get people to come back, so you can't blame them. But
well, it was fantastic.
It looked amazing on TV, but I have to say, like, you're obviously a golf nut, a golf obsessive, and I would have...
golf bore is the term they usually go for.
Yeah, golf nerd. But anyway, like, my interest would be a bit scant compared to that. But looking at the leaderboard still, I was going, who are these people? Like,
That's fair enough. Yeah.
It was... Who were those people?
Well, it turned into a touch of a damn squib around Saturday, there's no doubt, and the leaderboard sort of disintegrated. The Irish interest went out of it. So straight away you lose the casual interest. Once there's not an Irish player in contention, it goes. And then, in fairness, they were not high-profile names. Sunday turned into an amazing last 2-3 hours. It really did, if you were watching it. John Ram made a fantastic run and almost chipped in for eagle to basically be in, at that point, what looked like was going to be the playoff score. So Ram made a fantastic run at the end. And then Russell Knox won it by making a 45-foot putt on 18 in regulation to go to playoff and break the heart of Ryan Fox, the son of Grant Fox. And then in the playoff, they played 18 again. Russell Knox hit it pretty much to exactly the same spot on the green. Fox had a 12-footer. So we thought, well, Russell Knox here is going to try and lag this one up and tap in for par and hope that Ryan Fox doesn't make his for birdie. And instead, Russell Knox stood up and rolled it in again from basically the same spot to basically win the tournament. Ryan Fox then missed his putt. So it turned into a fantastic finale. And Russell Knox is a pretty good winner. He's a winner whose pedigree will age very well. He's going to do other good things in the game. He's won a couple of times in the PGA Tour, should have been on Darren Clark's Ryder Cup team, had a bad year last year, but he's a very good player. And so it maintains the nice run we've had now of McIlroy in 2016, John Ram last year. Russell Knox will age very nicely as a winner. So it was a really good week. Dermot Gillespie said it was basically the best Irish Open he'd been to.
Yeah, but there's one, and I would say the large part of that is obviously the course. And you know, Lawrence Donegan, who would know Donegal very well, lived there a few years ago, but he's often said that the Donegal courses are up there with the best in the world. But I wonder now, like we just mentioned this outside, it's like there's no real social hub for Ballyliffin. Was that an issue? Whereas you compare it to Lahinch, you know, you go straight into a really lively summertime.
It was the only thing lacking for me. There was no great social hub because Ballyliffin's a small town, but more so, not many people were there. Most people were day trippers, an hour, 2 hours away. So, certainly we all tended to leave the course at 9:30 and just go and get some food and go back to the apartment. The best one actually, the best social hub was Killarney a couple of years ago. The town was hopping, like it was made for it. It felt like a festival. And talking to Paul McGinley on the Friday, that's very much his plan for Lahinch. So it should actually be a really great festival next year, and hopefully they get a few bigger names with the Open Championship on at Portrush, and McGinley is going to set things up fairly similarly.
Because I think it's something.
Kieran,
Sorry, go on, Rich. Well, just a quick one. It's something that's really underrated in sport. Like if you go to a game in Cardiff, the Millennium Stadium, you come out and you're just in the middle of the city centre with all the main. The nightclub, the nightlife areas all around you. Yeah, and it's similar to, but then you go to, say, the Stade de France and you come out and, you're just trying to get a train.
It's built in an industrial centre.
And that would have been a similar story with Abbottstown here. You would have come out onto a motorway, basically, and headed for home, whereas Lansdowne Road, you could walk into town, Croke Park, the same. And I think it's something very important when people are planning sports venues.
Well, it's a very difficult thing to do because land prices are insane if you're trying to build that in a big city, and to give something over to a stadium would be, in planning terms, possibly maniacal.
Yeah, so you're looking at existing venues that can be developed if possible,
Sean says, in the grand tradition of workplace banter, can I congratulate Kieran Cunningham on a fine haircut, looking sharp, says Sean. Kieran Cunningham is one of the finest aging men around. What age are you now?
51.
My God, it's outrageous.
It's not right.
The youngest looking fella here.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, didn't I tell you Donegal was beautiful and unspoiled, Suzanne? It is a fantastically beautiful place in that weather.
Was this the same man that was on to us last week telling us not to go because we'd ruin it?
I don't know.
There was an man on to us last week who was telling us to stay away from Donegal.
I tell you what, the deepness of sleep I got in that Donegal quiet was amazing.
Really?
My apartment's
You're
near
not eaten by midges.
No. My apartment's near a busy enough road, so you get the whiz, and it was just this deep silence.
You get the what?
The whiz of the car going by.
Sort of reason with.
Just thought you were.
The whiz. Come on now. And then
great remake starring Diana Ross and Michael Jackson.
Interestingly, I then listened to a Joe Rogan podcast on the way home last night about the importance of sleep, which blew my mind.
You're an awful nerd.
Well, he talked to me about this outside, and he's depressed me big time.
Sleeping is the new smoking.
Yeah.
Honestly,
in terms of, it's bad for you.
I mean, the links with Alzheimer's are now frighteningly unequivocal.
If you get too much or get too little?
Too little. Like
never have kids, Joe, if we can just put it
Well, I hear that. Yeah. Like Margaret Thatcher, the great 4 hours sleep, tragically, Alzheimer's. Ronald Reagan was another, Alzheimer's. But just the studies are just irrefutable.
Yeah.
And then there was all this stuff, now, look, it's too heavy a topic to get into now, but like the gist of it was, we produce toxins and cancerous cells every day, and the way that the body deals with them every night is sleep.
Yeah. But even like it's the main difference with professional sports. Like it's pointed out, people that say that GA players prepare professionally, but they're not able to take naps in the middle of the day, and most professionals do.
Yeah.
And some of them take 2 naps a day because sleep is vital. It's and it's I was saying outside that there's a problem because you often read these Q&As with, say, CEOs or business leaders or politicians, and they all kind of either they do this in reality or they pretend to get up at 4:30 or 5 a.m. and be in the gym for an hour and work 16, 17 hours a day and survive in 5 or 6 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And that's put forward as a virtue.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Rogan, and we have to get into NEWSROUND shortly, Rogan did ask this expert who has a new book out. I'll tweet the link to this podcast. It was amazingly interesting and well worth a listen. So Rogan asked him about these CEO types and about various people who can claim to go with less sleep. Lots of people say, well, I can go with 5 or 6 hours, no problem. So what about those types? And his answer was, well, if you round up the percentage of people who can go with less than 7 to 9 hours sleep to the nearest number, you get 0.
Okay.
They're lying. They don't actually know how well they could function if they slept properly.
Yeah.
We're just not built to do it that way. He basically said 3.6 million years of evolution has got us to 8 hours. And it's only in the last 100 years.
Yeah, and I would think looking at screens for hours and hours on end is having an impact too.
Yeah. Well, he said if you were reading a book in the hour before you go to bed, your melatonin releases over that hour. He says if you read a laptop or an iPad in that same hour, it's 3 hours before your melatonin kicks in. So you don't actually sleep properly.
Wow.
So you're looking at, whenever you switch off your last screen, you're looking at 3 hours before your body really shuts down for a good sleep.
Okay.
So, it's very interesting. Rogan asked him a question I wanted to know, finally. Don't give me those eyes, Richie. He asked him...
I'm just, mad into golf. Cites Thatcher first. I mean, there's a trend here.
He said, isn't it a pity that we can't bank sleep?
Yeah.
As in, why hasn't Mother Nature looked after us here if we know we've a busy week coming up, or we've just had a busy week? Why can't we catch up on our sleep or front load it or store it in the bank? And he said, well, we are literally the only species that deprive ourselves of sleep.
Okay. I have a friend who can sleep standing up.
Is it a horse?
No, Thomas Cook's his name, so we'll give a shout out to Thomas. So.
Good traveller here.
Yeah.
There you
He'd
go.
have a few pints and you'd look at the bar counter beside you and he's standing up having a nap.
Bosco says, Joe, you saved me from Alzheimer's. I just drifted off for the last 3 minutes. Thanks. Thanks, Bosco. I was just doing my bit, you know. I just wanted to share
anyway,
what I'd learned.
Is it coming home, Richie? Give us the news.
Very much it's going home, yeah. Will we start with the tennis?
Yes, I should tell people the news round is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products, Richie.
Don't worry, Joe, they're all gone, they're all asleep. Serena Williams has reached a 13th Wimbledon singles quarter-final. The 7-time winner needed just 62 minutes to beat Evgenia Rodina 6-2, 6-2 today. Williams will face the world number 52, Camilla Giorgi, in the last 8 and is 9-0 against players left in her side of the draw, and she sounded an ominous note on her form after today's win.
Well, there's a lot to improve on. This is only my 4th tournament back, so I would hope that there's a lot to continue to improve on, and there is. I feel like I'm getting to where I want to be, but for me, there's so much further that I want to go to get back to where I was, and to hopefully go beyond that.
Elsewhere on Manic Monday, defeat for 7th-seed Karolina Pliskova to Kiki Bertens means there'll be none of the top 10 seeds in the Wimbledon women's quarter-finals for the first time in the Open era. Next up for Bertens, Julia Gorges, the 13th-seed, beat Donna Vekic in straight sets today. 11th-seed Angelique Kerber, she beat Belinda Belcic 6-3, 7-6. The 2016 runner-up will face Daria Kaskina in the last 8 after the 14th-seed beat Alison van Ooitvank in straight sets. Dominika Sibilkova beat Simona Halep's conqueror Hei Shui in straight sets. And next up for Sibilkova is last year's French Open winner, the 12th-seed Elena Ostapenko, while neither Roger Federer nor Rafa Nadal have dropped sets en route to the Wimbledon quarter-finals. The top seed and defending champion Federer beat Adrian Manarino 6-love, 7-5, 6-4 today, and Federer will face Kevin Anderson in the last 8 after the 8th-seed beat Gael Monfils in a tight 4-setter, while Nadal beat world number 93 Yuri Vesely 6-3, 6-3, 6-4. It's Nadal's first Wimbledon quarter-final since 2011. He'll face either Juan Martín Del Potro or Gilles Simon in that last 8 tie. Del Potro took the first set of their match 7-6. It's 4-all and going with serve in the second. Elsewhere in the men's draw, Kei Nishikori through to the last 8 after Ernest Gulbis retired hurt with a knee injury, and Nishikori will face the winner of Novak Djokovic's match with world number 40 Karen Khachanov. 13th seed Milos Raonic through to the last 8 after beating Mackenzie McDonald in 4 sets. And All England Club Chief Executive Richard Lewis, meanwhile, says there are no special plans in place for a potential England World Cup final and Wimbledon men's final clash, because it is indeed coming home. The tennis starts at 2 on Sunday, 2 hours before the football begins. Federer is one person who has no such concerns over a clash.
Well, it's going to happen anyway, regardless if I'm going to be in the finals or not. The Wimbledon final will take place, and so will the World final. I'm more concerned that the World Cup final will have issues because of the Wimbledon final is going on. Because they'll hear every point, wow, oh my God, love 15, 15-30. And then the players are going to look up in the crowd and don't understand what's going on in Wimbledon. So that's how important Wimbledon is to me and to us over here. Maybe you should ask the questions over in Russia, how they're going to feel about Wimbledon being played at the same time.
Press conference laughter is the worst laughter, I've always thought.
Have you ever joined in?
Me talking
I have to.
Yeah.
I have to admit it always comes across a bit false or cloying or trying to curry favour.
The Mourinho press conference laughter is probably the worst type of press conference laughter as well.
Lads, can't wait for the Super 8s to start this weekend. It's football's chance to shine, says Tommy.
Football's coming home.
How are you?
Except Dublin never play at home.
How are you seeing this all shape up, Ciarán, on the Super 8s?
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's both groups are very interesting for different reasons. No, I'm pretty sure Dublin will win their 3 games. Like some people think Healy Park could be tricky for them, but I think anytime I've seen them against Tyrone in recent years, they've had far too much for Tyrone, and I think they've fairly sussed them out, and I haven't seen enough of Tyrone to suggest they've improved significantly since last year's semi-final. But I can see that group. I have a feeling Tyrone will beat Roscommon in Croke Park. I think Roscommon have a great chance to beat Donegal in Hyde Park, and Donegal would beat Tyrone and Balbafay. That would leave those 3 teams on 2 points.
Right.
If Dublin win their 3 games. So that would come down to scoring difference, which would be hugely different. So it would be very important, particularly if you're losing to Dublin, to stay as close to them as possible because of the scoring difference. And it's also something that gives Tyrone an advantage because they're the one team playing Dublin at home, that they might be able to get quite close to them. So
unlikely to take a hammering at home, yeah.
Whereas the other draw, the other side is, I think it's quite. I think Kerry will get through, but I think between Galway, Monaghan and Kildare, it's up for grabs.
What do Galway have to do to get some kudos here?
But I just think Monaghan and Kildare are decent teams. Like I said this months ago, I thought Kildare being the Super 8s. Like even though I saw them a couple of times in the league, and even though they lost all their games, I think they have a lot of good players.
Yeah, Cian O'Neill came into the Sky studio at full time actually against Fermanagh at the weekend. It worked really well.
Yeah, that happened before.
Jim Gavin
there was one very awkward one with Jim. And
it was good. The Sky,
even,
Sky coverage has been very good this year actually.
Yeah,
very
and
good
like
the
one guy I have to give Peter Canavan in particular for doing like halftime analysis. So he's able to like a lot of people are good half an hour after a game when they have time to think about it, but he has to have the stuff prepared for halftime and very relevant clips.
Yeah, but they
for the end, and he's very good at that.
He is. They do one thing I like at halftime and full time is they show the average positions on the pitch. Which is now crucial in GA. It's a really good innovation, really good. And then Derek McGrath was very good last night in the Sunday game as well.
They're trying different people, which is good to see.
So Spain have said they liked what Hierro did, but not that much.
It was more Hierro's opinion to step aside because he stepped down from his role with the Spanish FA as well over the weekend. But Luis Enrique is the man entrusted with turning around the fortunes of the Spanish national side. The former Barcelona head coach was the unanimous choice of the Spanish Federation Board and will guide them through Euro 2020. He replaces Julen Lopetegui, who was sacked on the eve of the World Cup. Spain exited in the group stages for the second World Cup running.
We'll talk to Dan McDonnell, who is in St. Petersburg ahead of France against Belgium. He's on the way around 20 to 9 or so. The thing I saw from the World Cup today that grabbed my eye was the Financial Times, who have analysed the goal-scoring performance of teenage players in top competitions going back 3 decades. Okay. So the big 5 leagues, Champions League and international football. They've looked at the teenagers who lit it up.
Okay.
And top of the list is Kylian Mbappe. 0.69 goals a game. They say amongst other players who managed more than 1,000 minutes of elite football in their teenage years, Lionel Messi, 0.54 goals per game. Raul had 0.5, Wayne Rooney had 0.4, Henry had 0.43. So Mbappe is way out in front at 0.69.
Is Michael Owen not up there now?
Yeah, he's up there. Michael Owen was 0.56.
Right.
So again, Mbappe is 0.69, Michael Owen 0.56. If you include the Dutch league, then Brazilian Ronaldo sneaks in at 0.84, which is just obnoxious. But that was PSV Eindhoven.
Competitive Eredivisie back then, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. So it's Mbappe 0.69. Like some of the names on this list go on to fulfill the potential, others don't. So they have Benzema was 0.6, Bojan 0.56, Michael Owen 0.56, Lionel Messi 0.54, all very impressive. Raul 0.5, Franny Jeffers 0.47.
God love him.
He was a serious prospect.
He was. But Mbappé's one of the only teenagers at this World Cup, I think I heard that.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a standard stat from this that there's been so few teenagers.
I was surprised not to see Ronaldo on this list in the top 20 at all, but I guess he was less of a goal scorer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, more a creator, really, wasn't he?
Yeah. Where are you going next, Richie?
Next up, it is the hurling, because Clare's All-Ireland hurling quarter-final meeting with Wexford will take place at Páirc Uí Chaoimh this Saturday. It has a 3 o'clock start. Semple Stadium will host Sunday's meeting of Kilkenny and Limerick with a 2 p.m. throw-in in Thurles. Kilkenny landed in that game against their will by virtue of a 128 to 315 loss to Galway in yesterday's Leinster hurling final replay. The Cats had trailed by 9 points at the break before growing into the game in the second half, but it was that sluggish start that hurt them, according to Brian Cody.
We didn't perform in the first half, and to question the pride of the players, kind of saying, look, we're not going to just walk away with another 40 minutes of this and just be blown away. So they knuckled down and they really got at it, and we got a couple of scores on the board, and confidence levels grew, and we just drove it on. The final whistle decides when the game is over, and half time is just a break in the game. And if you decide at half time, look at, we just keep going as we are, and we're not going to get very far. But when you realise you're a good bit behind, you have to lift things and you get on with it.
This is an interesting one now for Kilkenny, because if you look at the round robin system, teams really struggled when they played the third weekend in a row. So they have to play Limerick at the weekends. It'll be interesting.
I know
what they can come up with.
Neil Donoghue came out, the Galway manager, and basically said, "I'm kind of saying this because we won.
Yeah,
but 3 weeks is too much. They're going to have to change this as well because it is a bit much for Kilkenny to go out." Yeah, Cyril Farrell in the Irish Independent today was saying the third instalment of Galway Kilkenny here was very good yesterday. the fourth instalment is going to be the All-Ireland final, is what he reckons. We'll talk to Daithi Regan and Tommy Dunne in about 10 minutes' time. I don't think they're quite so sure. I think
and like it's set up for a Limerick ambush, but Kilkenny so often do find a way to win. But it's it's mad because the Super 8s or the games of the weekend are massive, but you have two massive hurling games as well. Like it's just such a shame you sometimes have kind of a feast or a famine type
second of which is swallowed up by the football as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Croatia will be without Shimi Vrsaljko for Wednesday's World Cup semi-final with England. The fullback missed training today after suffering a knee injury in extra time in their quarter-final win over Russia on Saturday. Former Manchester City and Tottenham fullback Vedran Chorluka will be the man to replace Vrsaljko, currently at Lokomotiv Moscow and still only 32, I learned today. Goalkeeper Daniel Subasic also sat out training today with a hamstring injury. They are more hopeful on the goalkeeper's front though. Wayne Pivac has been confirmed as the next head coach of Wales. The Scarlets boss will succeed Warren Gatland after next year's World Cup. Pivac guided the Scarlets to the Pro 12 title the season before last and also to this year's Pro 14 final where they were beaten by Leinster. His appointment will end Gatland's 12 years in charge of Wales.
They play such amazing rugby. It will be interesting to see if he can translate that to the international sphere, given that Joe Schmidt and Leinster played such amazing rugby and it hasn't quite translated.
He took a different approach, absolutely. And Gatland's next move will be interesting. Like, does he really want to coach the All Blacks? Like, 12 years is a long stint. It must be the longest in professional rugby.
What's he doing for half the year except sitting around playing golf?
Do you think Joe Schmidt spends half the year sitting around playing golf?
But come on. Gatland's living in New Zealand half the time. No talk about Sarah Healy, double under 18 gold medalist.
He's coming to it.
Potential superstar. It's his next story. Yeah. I think everyone's favourite video from the weekend was Sonia O'Sullivan watching her daughter compete.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Gior over the weekend. The medal-laden Irish team arrived back into Dublin Airport this evening following that incredible weekend at the European Under-18 Athletics Championships. Sarah Healy back with 2 goals following victory in the 1500 and the 3000 metres. 15-year-old Razadat Adekeli from Tallaght took home the 200-metre gold, while Sophie O'Sullivan, as you mentioned, claimed silver in the 800 metres. Last year's European Under-20 100-metre champion Gina Akpe-Moses, one of a number of prospects in the Under-20 team there in Tampere for the World Under-20 Championships that get underway in Finland tomorrow.
I have to say, the last few years generally has been very bleak for Irish athletics, and there's been a lot of doom and gloom, and depression, and people talking down the prospect of where one other sport is in Ireland, where it's going. So this was really refreshing.
Yeah.
And also, like, there's no guarantee. If you look through at age level athletics, there's no guarantee people push on.
Look at Franny Jeffers.
Yeah. But I have to say, Sarah Healy in particular, like, looks sensational. It's interesting as well. Cathal Dennehy would be a very good writer in athletics. Did a piece about her today, and she plays hockey regularly. And if you look at Ciara McGeehan, who was the last top 1500 metre prospect, she played camogie regularly. And all this research shows that it's better for sports people if they don't specialise at a young age, if they play as many sports as possible. Like, you actually see that with James Milner, who had very much an athletics background in both cross-country running and sprinting. Yeah, he was a champion of both sprinting and cross-country, which is very unusual. Yeah, and you see that now in his stamina and his fitness, that it really stands to you if you play a range of sports.
Really? Because I fully intend to have my future children just with a golf club in their hand and nothing else. The Tiger Woods approach. Tiger Woods approach.
Telling everybody that Jordan Spieth is the most interesting man in the world.
Don't have kids if you want to have sleep.
It's my pension plan.
What do you want, Alzheimer's or a golf champion?
Yeah.
I like the way you have to think.
Sarah Healy's running style, I know this could be a bit nerdish, but she's so smooth and graceful. Like, if you look at David Rudisha, is probably the best style to watch, but she is, like, Sophie O'Sullivan's a real talent as well, but she's a bit
ragged.
Yeah, a bit more ungainly, like, no, probably the wrong word to use, but there's just something really smooth. Like, when she put on the gas, she just goes
right.
It's beautiful to watch.
Okay, interesting. Isn't it mad that no one said to Paula Radcliffe, we're going to have to sort this technique out?
Is it working for her, to be fair?
I know, but even so, it must have been using more energy than was necessary, or just been worse than ideal. Do you know what I think? Like, it was just insane.
Yeah.
All of this week, we have teamed up with Domino's, the official food of everything, to give you the chance to win €2,000 cash. Each day this week, we'll be picking a daily winner to go into the final draw on Sunday for the money, and each of our finalists will also win one of Domino's brand new Meat Fielder pizzas, which includes, Richie, vegetarians need not apply, pepperoni, ham, chorizo, pork meatballs, smoked bacon, and Domino's secret sauce.
I am in.
So as well as Alzheimer's, you'll have a heart attack.
I tell you what now, a meat fielder pizza might be just the job tomorrow to get us through the show with the World Cup matches on. Maybe the next 2 nights. To be in with a chance of winning, just identified tonight's World Cup mystery voice who gave us this reaction when he saw Nathan Murphy's newest Hawaiian shirt.
It's a horrible thing.
Text your... I mean, there's no two ways about it.
It's a horrible thing.
Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce the winner later on in the show. Are we done? Have we time? We're done. We've time. We're done. Kieran Cunningham from the Star, thanks very much for coming in. Appreciate it. So, the plan this evening, David Brady and Enda McGinley after 8 o'clock, Dan McDonald and St. at 20 to 9. We're in a 2-hour show at the moment, so we've got a month of 2-hour shows coming up. And up next, Tommy Dunne and Daithi Regan on that beautifully stunning game at Semple Stadium yesterday.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, as well as all the breaking news, we speak with Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou MacDonald. As a major bill on Ireland's approach to Israel comes before the Dáil, we hear about the realities of living in the Palestinian-occupied territories.